I'm now connecting to Suli Kobayashi. Did I pronounce that right?
Correct.
That is, of course, your Bitcoin pseudonym, right? It's not your real name.
Correct.
Okay, so Suli, we met on Twitter about a week ago. You're from the Lebanon, and the Lebanon right now is one of the hotbeds of, let's say, hyperinflation. And we get lots of news and burning banks, and there was even a story about a burning central bank. And I tried to get into the story, but it's very hard from here, from Europe, to see what's going on. So that would be my first question. What is going on, and who are you? First, what is going on, and then who are you?
What's going on, and then who am I? What's going on is that Samson Cho just commented the other day, "You're all Lebanese, you just don't know it yet." That's what's happening. I'm Suli. I'm from Lebanon, born and raised. I'm excited to be here in Eco today. Basically, I had a first-hand experience on saving my life savings through Bitcoin from the Lebanese economic crisis. That was an experience of a technology, an asset, a currency, whatever you want to call it. It just worked. And yeah, this is who I am. I'm a former shitcoiner. I'm a Bitcoin rationalist now, advising individuals and institutions on Bitcoin adoption across Middle East and Africa. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So let's maybe start with your personal story. How did that happen? What time frame are we talking about here?
Um, 2017, 2017, I started picking up Bitcoin as a stock on the traditional markets. I thought I was owning Bitcoin when I was trading on an app. That's how it all started. Fast forward 2019, I started learning about self custody, and then I decided that I want to empty my Lebanese bank account through Bitcoin, basically. And that's pre-crisis. Just, I mean, being doing the right things at the right time is what happened. And then, yeah, over COVID, it was an amazing opportunity to network with fellow Bitcoiners in Lebanon and in the Arab world. Back in the day, like all of us, at one day we thought we were alone, knowing this thing. And yeah, fast forward, it's like it's the passion that drives me, and yeah, I mean, everyone is now excited about Lebanon, what's been happening post 2019, but it's good to look at the wider timeline, and the inflation in Lebanon has started since the 70s. So yeah, this is it in a nutshell.
You recently published a whole thread about the history of inflation in the Lebanon since the 1970s, actually. What happened there? I mean, how did we end up here? Can you give us a summary of the last decades?
Sure. I mean, a decade would be short, just because there's a key event in the Lebanese history. We have Lebanon's civil war started in 1975. Okay, so pre 1975, just to give you just a quick brief about Lebanon's history and its location on the map, for the ones who don't know, Lebanon is on the western coast of the Mediterranean. From the north and the west, we have Syria. From the east, we have Syria. From the west, we have the sea. And from south, we have Palestine. So we just got our independence from the French in 1940s, 1943 to be exact. And it's all interesting to understand history, just because it's all there's a not only a historic context to everything, but also an economic context to everything. We were colonized by the French. Before the French, we were colonized by the Ottomans. The Ottomans' gold standard adoption was translated in Lebanon to Lebanon, and when the French also stopped their gold standard, it was also reflected to Lebanon. So 1975, the civil war started in Lebanon. It ended in 1990. From 1975 to 1990, the currency was at its best, and we're talking about for every $1, it was equivalent to 3 Lebanese pounds. Okay, from 1975 to 1990. Now, the civil war ended with an agreement where all the warlords agreed on stopping the war, and they agreed on continuing the ruling of the country, the same warlords. This is what happened until today. Okay, so in 1990, there was an agreement, a consensus across all the parties with the central bank. The central bank pegged the Lebanese pounds to the dollar. But in 1993, there was like a consensus whereby for every 1,500 Lebanese pounds, it would be always equivalent to $1. What was the trick? Lebanon is very tiny. It's about 10,000 square kilometers. If you want to look at the three main economic sectors, they're all very weak. When it comes to agriculture, it all started with the Silk Road back in the day, and then what the Ottomans worked on, and then it never got really developed, especially with the Civil War. And then fast forward until today, I'm gonna just compare and talk about each economic sector. The agricultural sector today, with having the war in Syria and Palestine from the south, we're basically locked from any agricultural export. The second sector, when it comes to the industry, industry has always been really weak also, just because we haven't been working on finding raw materials that can be supporting the industry, like local manufacturing. And third sector, which had been booming across the decades, is the service sector. And this is why you know about the Lebanese cuisine, that's like the Lebanese nightlife, and so on and so forth. But more importantly, is the banking sector. So in 1990, when they settled the war and they agreed like to peg it to the dollar, they created something called Lebanese secrecy, the Lebanese banking secrecy. In other terms, it was the equivalent of owning a bank account in Geneva before the lift of that secrecy in Geneva as well, in Switzerland. So by doing so, it was basically the biggest Ponzi started, attracting all random investments, good and bad investors, from all over the world, from the Middle East, but also from the West and the East to Lebanon, which built huge reserves for Lebanon. Okay. Now, there has been some initiatives to start developing infrastructure and developing the three main economic sectors on paper. This is why we attracted hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars in loans from every single entity you can think of in the world. But what really contextualized on the ground, really nothing. We have bridges that are still under construction for the past 30 years under loans. And yeah, there's an infinite amount of examples that any Lebanese can share with you. Yeah, it's mainly today, like after the civil war and all these attempts of really like recovery, because like with every emergency and crisis, you have the response and the recovery after the response. The Lebanon, the country hasn't really recovered. From 1990 until 2019, and October 2019 to be specific, there has been this money printing, this central bank management in a way by the Lebanese central bank governor got multiple prizes from Wall Street and the Fed for being the best central banker in the world. And Google it and look it up. It's amazing. The guy is called Riyad Salemi, and he's still the governor of the central bank of Lebanon. Untouchable guy. Even though you hear on the news here and there that there are lawsuits against him, etc. But come on. And yeah, I mean, to be pegging a currency for 30 years, it doesn't happen with a decision, individual decision. And we all know that. It's linked to the local currency decision makers, but also the foreign currency to which this currency is pegged to. And this way, in this case, it's the Fed. So yeah, this is the central bank's story in Lebanon, which is still ongoing. Now, what happened is that over time, like any loaning entity would require to see some rewards over time. There were no rewards really happening. Like loans not paid. Eurobonds defaulted in 2018 or 2019. The payment from Lebanon to the Eurobonds holders. And then the credit scoring of Lebanon to all the international banking sector really went down. And it's been going downhill ever since. In October 2019, I think October 19, one of the ministers went on public television advertising that he's thinking of taxing WhatsApp to get income to the to the Lebanese economy, and that triggered an explosion on the streets, and it's been like that ever since. So from October 2019 until today we're like end of February 2023. The economic situation had been cascading down, free falling. What happened is that the people realized that it was a Ponzi scheme, an actual Ponzi scheme, meaning today, myself, my parents, every single Lebanese in Lebanon, or any person who had owned an account, a bank account in Lebanon, can't access their own money, especially if they had foreign currency. So if you had USD or Euro or Yen or British pounds in Lebanon, they're just numbers on a screen. You can't get it anymore. And if you try to get it, you'll be losing up to 95% of the value of that amount. If you go to Lebanon every day to withdraw money, you can't. You have a limit of, I think, $20 per day or so. That's if you can find money in the ATMs. If you go to open a bank account in Lebanon today, you can't. If you go to close a bank account in Lebanon today, you really need to spend days to try to close your bank account because the banks don't want you to close your bank account, obviously. You have banks calling, like they called my mom and my friend the other day, asking them if they're making any Euro or USD transfers. And God knows, like no one can do transfers from the banks today in Lebanon. I mean, I can go on and on.
Very quickly.
That's the situation.
You said the acute inflation situation. We're talking about 2019 to 2023. Is there something happening right now? Is there a reason why we see banks burning right now and people losing it right now? Is there something escalating?
It's all about your property. Like people think that when you have a bank account, it's yours. It's actually not. You've signed papers to the bank that your account can be held through an authority, a central authority. It's the central bank or the legal sector or whatnot. We just keep on signing and clicking next to download the app or just to open a bank account. This is what we do. And when the shit hits the fan, excuse my language, I know like the censorship on your podcast, but basically, yeah, that you give consent in an economic crisis for the government to put their hand on the accounts as they see fit, right? So today people can't access their money. The money is devaluing. We mentioned at the beginning with the intro, like in the 70s and 80s, $1 was equivalent to 3 Lebanese pounds. Today it's 82,000 Lebanese pounds. 82,000. So if my dad's pension, he was earning almost $1,000 a month. Today it's like almost 30 or 40 euros a month. Imagine dollars, that's even worse. So people are furious. People, like, it's still winter, so people are cold, but like people are angry. Yes, I'm not with putting banks on fire. It's not like legal in any way. But come on, taking people's money is also not legal. Trying to what happened before 2019, like the last 2 years, when there has been some question marks about the central banks, what's been happening, what the central bank did, they increased the interest by 14% on Lebanese pounds. So they wanted you imagine for every $100 you would earn 14% interest. That's one of the best businesses you could do. That's a scam. So people are angry, and yes, people are like now attacking banks, and you've seen, of course, on social media how different people went in and got their money by force from the banks, and these people are free today. They're not behind.
I did Google. Riyad Salameh has been the governor of the central bank for 29 years, 256 days, which is completely insane. one guy at the central bank. And just to put it into perspective, because you said Lebanon was so tiny, I honestly have to say I didn't know that. So Lebanon has about 7 million people. Austria has 9 million, but Lebanon is 8 times smaller, so it's about 10,000 square kilometers. We do have one thing in common. We have almost the same flag. I don't know if you knew that, but it's like red, white, and red. But you have a nice tree in the middle. We don't get the tree.
Don't worry, we no longer have trees in Lebanon. So.
You don't like have trees? Why is that?
I mean, yeah, we've been losing the green cover for the past 15 years. That's another story for another day. But yeah, it's just symbolic.
You talked about the explosion on the street, but there was also the huge explosion in Beirut that went around the world as news, of course, in 2020. What role did that play? Did that topple the economy into chaos even more?
You know, when you're watching a boxing game and the knockout that makes the other person really not stand anymore on his feet, this is what happened to Lebanon. That blast, the August blast, the port of Beirut's blast, really crippled and handicapped anything in Lebanon. Like you have a traumatized population who hasn't really recovered since. Imagine with like all the economic issues, having a blast that is the strongest since Hiroshima on a capital, on millions of people. You still have like 650 special people with special needs due to the blast that no one talks about, and you have people that really lost their homes ever since. You have businesses that really collapsed that were just on the port. That's also happening. That happened with Corona. It happened with the economic crisis, and that really played a big impact on everything.
And on top of that, you have this Ponzi scheme created by the central bank. I've read that even French President Emmanuel Macron called it actually a Ponzi scheme, what they did. Has anything changed? I mean, or is it just now still the money is basically getting worth less every day and that's it?
Thing is, like, this is not new for humankind. It's not the first crisis in the world that is very similar. Just like it's receiving more attention because of the beauty of social media and the quick access to information nowadays and people's awareness, and really people are becoming more and more free. The currency is collapsing by the minute. Like you go to the different telegrams channels, etc., and they give you like the visibility of the devaluation every 40 minutes. It's not like daily. It's and they talk about Bitcoin's volatility. So yeah, what's happening? It's ongoing, and frankly speaking, I've witnessed inflation in other countries that have income. In Lebanon, like it's not Venezuela, it's not Argentina, it's not Angola. The sense Lebanon doesn't have any income. It's not an oil-based country. It's not like an export-based country. And from this criteria, I think the rate is gonna keep going up, and then it's going to infinity, literally in Lebanon, because there's nothing to hold it except getting an IMF playing the IMF World Bank book, whereby they put their conditions and then agree on pegging the lira at a certain point. Other than this, there's no reason. There's nothing to hold a currency whatsoever. Like any country can fake it, but they would be having some productive sector in their economy to make sure that you have some return. Like if you want to consider it as a company, the company is bankrupt with a corrupt staff with no point of sale selling anything. So imagine how would that function.
You talked about your father getting a pension of $40, right? Instead of 1,000. I mean, how are people dealing with this? How are people paying for their lives? What exactly are they doing every day?
Okay. You mentioned 7 million population, and I think it's a bit. I don't know the source of the
It's
statistics, but let's assume 7 million is
the
correct.
source is
Okay.
always Wikipedia,
Um,
obviously.
okay. It's okay. So just because you have, let me just break down the population to give you a better idea. You have at least a million Syrian refugee in Lebanon. Okay. You have at least 500,000 Palestinian and stateless people in Lebanon. From my last statistics that are outdated, we have about 4 million, 5 million Lebanese. Okay. These Lebanese um, are mainly working in the service sector. Okay. The service sector that is based on tourism, based on political stability, if there was any. What's happening today is that people are barely surviving day to day to really get their food, medicine, etc. Um, a year ago, there was a shortage for children's medication and baby milk in the country. Situation is it's catastrophic, and I don't think it's a fact that now this tiny country, Lebanon, has about 17 religious sects. Actually 17, not about 17. It's as per the constitution. We have 17 religious sects in Lebanon. We spoke about the war, the 15 years war from 1975 to 1990, right? And we spoke about how the country has been governed by the same leaders. So the population is also divided, unfortunately. They're divided based on their political color. Each political color has funding from different states outside Lebanon, and it's a fact. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate fact. And before, like, it's it's like, and the game plays the same as other countries, whereby whenever there's elections, the 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 people that are getting wanted to be elected are like funding people for votes, buying votes, helping people with like food allowance, schooling allowance, etc. So today there is a when the 19th of October 2019 public unrest started. At the beginning, everyone went on the streets. All the political followers, all the political parties, and whoever didn't belong to any political party went on the streets just for a month. And then after that, each political party just noticed that, you know what, this is going to go out of hand. So they pulled their own followers from the streets. Who remain on the streets? The minority. The minority that can't really make a difference. And today, whoever are surviving are belonging directly or indirectly to a political party. Today in Lebanon, the public sector is governed by these political parties. So they are just covered, they have a cover, and it's like also the Cantillon effect, whereby the nearer you are to the printing machine, you're doing okay. And this is how it is. The public parties are nearer to the printing machine in Lebanon. Now, it's if you look at the unfortunate statistics, crime is increasing, suicide is increasing, finding babies in trash bins is increasing, and you don't hear about that in the media. Why? Because like all the media, each of the politicians have their own TV channel in Lebanon, just like in the world. So it is what it is. It's just like it's unfortunate to see really like things free falling, and in my humble opinion, we haven't reached the bottom yet.
So do people have access to any like dollars? I mean, how are people paying for their stuff? I mean, literally, I get up in the morning, I run to the bank, I get money, or I try to get money, or, I mean, we're coming to Bitcoin in a second. I just want to know, I mean, I guess that most people in Lebanon are not Bitcoiners. So I want to know how like normal people deal with it.
Okay. So you have three types of people. If you wake up in the morning and go to work in the morning, you either go to your boss and tell him you need to be paid in dollars. That's one option. Okay. And many companies now, to survive, especially like just like you have companies that are importers in Lebanon are able to get their hands on dollars, and they started paying their employees in dollars or partially in dollars. And this is very common, whereby you get a percent of your monthly salary in dollars. Okay, it's not pegged officially to the black market rate or to the bank rate. It's just like a month by month. This is one one type of citizens how they do it. The second type is actually earning only in Lebanese pounds because their employer can't afford otherwise, and this is really scrapping the day to day to see how they do, trying to convert as much as they can to the dollars. This is what they do, and you have the third new generation trying to find of creative modern ways, just like Bitcoin, to save into Bitcoin, or transact or to receive remittances from the millions of Lebanese outside Lebanon. And this is one of the reasons why Lebanon so far has been standing on its feet, because you have more Lebanese outside Lebanon than in Lebanon.
So they're sending money, but they will okay. Let's start, maybe let's start with your own story and to get into the whole Bitcoin thing. So how big today, or how important is Bitcoin? And are people? I would guess people are also using stable coins in this situation.
Yes. How big? Like, I know for a fact, in the first few months from October 2019 till January 2020, more than $15 million went outside Lebanon through
50
Bitcoin.
or 15?
15,
Okay.
1 5, which is considerable amount. And this is just like random numbers we shared, because like, yeah, it's been a booming sector somehow. Now, yeah, of course, because of the volatility, people seek stable coins just to make sure that they can use it without the volatility. This is mainly it. But if you go on different Telegram channels, you see that people are pricing their goods to sell in Bitcoin or in stable coins.
And how many people? I mean, how? I want to understand if how big the phenomenon is. If you go to one of those
Okay,
groups, how many
okay.
people are going to be in there?
You're talking thousands, a couple of thousands each. Now, just to give you just some background, in 2013, Riyad Salame, this guy, this
Our
famous
friend at the central bank, yes.
Ponzi, not my friend, but yes, he basically released a warning to all commercial banks, warning all commercial banks from transacting or accepting any accounts that deal with
In
cryptocurrency.
13 already. So he
Okay.
knew what was up. He knew.
30. He knew. He made a fortune already. Yeah, he knew. Of course, he knew. He got a. I'm telling you, he got a prize from Wall Street and the Fed a couple of times. He got pictures with the big guys. So yeah, of course, they all knew, Nico. They all knew. So basically, from that warning alone, um, many people got afraid, and many accounts got closed prior to the crisis, due to that warning. So it's not like illegal in Lebanon, but there is this warning, and then you have different efforts to make sure that there is some education, and it's really the peer-to-peer, the P2P marketplace is really booming in a sense where it's like almost a five-star service where you can get delivery people, representatives to your place wherever you are. They have their own etiquette whereby they send you the Bitcoin and then you pay them, etc. Pretty cool stuff, but it hasn't really trickled on the masses, just because really the majority is suffering today, and the majority don't have electricity or internet. So we're talking about the basics here, and like I always say, like humans only learn by pain or by curiosity, but unfortunately it's the other way around. It's only by pain. Like only few learn by curiosity, and the Lebanese who were able to secure their some of their savings into real estates or apartments, and some started buying watches, etc. And this is the same playbook that different populations play in other countries. Some started hearing about success stories through Bitcoin and stable coins, etc. And this has, let's say, accelerated. Today, and we have the biggest Bitcoin educational channel on Telegram. It's called Bitcoin du Liban. It has like thousands of people, and the level of conversations and questions and the content, the educational content that is being shared, is really much higher than 2 years ago. It's true that the number of the group members, or this is also, it applies to the P2P marketplaces I was telling you about. It goes with the price of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin goes up on a bull market, and the number of members increase. But in bear markets, you see the level of intellect and the understanding and the self-sovereignty and custody, which is becoming much more important. And frankly speaking, the Ponzi scheme that Riyad Salemi did is very similar to SPF and FTX. And people are linking the dots together, and they're understanding that this is not only Lebanon, but we're still very early still. Like you have people that I was meeting with the deputy CFO like a week ago, and he was like, yeah, but if you're in Europe, it's still safer than putting your money in a Lebanese bank. I was like, looking at him, he's Lebanese. He lost his money through this central banking scheme, and he still believes that it's only about Lebanon. So we're talking about young people who are educated people who are still like a long way from discovering this freedom, property, sovereignty truth. But like one guy just told me, it's just like it's very similar to convincing a taxi driver with Uber. It takes a long way. It's not like very straightforward.
It's interesting. I had Mary from Algeria on the podcast just a week ago, and with what you tell me, it's the same, because in Lebanon, you guys really need this. You really use this, right? There's a difference between, you told me you got into Bitcoin as a speculator in the first place, and if that's, I mean, then you're one of the lucky ones, right? Who knew about it and got into it as a speculation, but right now you're not talking about it as a speculation. So you really you did your work, right? And I know this because you have a link list on your Twitter account. You have a link list that is longer than most books. It's a very long list of texts that I'm supposed to read either in English or other languages. So I mean, how much time did you put into this?
It's very easy. Have you taken the time to see how many hours you spent on Bitcoin?
It's my full-time job now, so
Okay, so just do the calculations. It's gonna be definitely thousands of hours. I exceeded 3,500 hours, I think, last year. But yeah, it's like, the thing is, when you read about something that you like first, and then you start to relate it to what you're living, and really it touches your core and everything you believe in, and you realize like it's beyond the states, it's beyond any country in the world. Yeah, so and about that list, basically in 2019, and thanks to, unfortunately, Corona, started connecting and going on Clubhouse and spaces to spread awareness. Yeah, it's, creating lists of different topics became handy instead of like repeating yourself and every attack vector on Bitcoin. So to refer people to these references. So hence the the long list.
it's fascinating. So you started, I think you told me, in 2017 because of the bull run, right? Everybody started because of the bull run, and then but you stuck with it. You stuck with it, and then only 2 years later it became important. Is there can do I understand correctly that there's no like legal way to buy Bitcoin in Lebanon with the banks, or is it to complete only peer to peer?
No, I mean basically the cheapest is peer-to-peer. Okay. Well, it depends, of course. You have people taking advantage of people who don't know the space. But basically today, you can go to the bank, ask to open. Basically, you need to have big money or someone who knows someone to be able to open something called a fresh US dollar account. It's not a normal US dollar account because the normal US dollar accounts now are frozen, right? So they call it fresh with more fees. And to try to, the Lebanese are so good at like really marketing and doing services and stuff. So now you open a fresh dollar account, and under that fresh dollar account, you open a new credit card with like exponential, very expensive fees, and then you use that credit card. The problem is most of the exchanges have blacklisted Lebanon now. Okay, so this is one of you can't really transact on Coinbase, for example, or Kraken, etc. Binance still works, but yeah, I mean the easiest what people do is they buy a stable coin from the P2P marketplace. They transfer a stable coin, and this is what I've done, and you purchase Bitcoin using the stable coin.
So because buying the stable coin is cheaper on the marketplace, but then you use the stable coin in a peer-to-peer situation.
Correct. Now, if you want to buy Bitcoin peer-to-peer, you can pay up to 5%, for example. No KYC, that's nice, but it's still expensive, 5%. So you can buy USDT, for example, for a lot cheaper and sometimes really great discounts. And then you go online and just buy Bitcoin with USDT, which is a good deal.
You mentioned in the beginning that you saved your savings basically because of Bitcoin. Did you do that on purpose, or was it just because you put all your money in Bitcoin because you wanted to get rich and then realized that the currency is now?
No, it was way before the currency. It happened just because basically I have a friend of mine who worked back in the day in the banking sector, and he told me like, be careful, like he knew that I started like trading, etc. He was like, be careful, don't buy Bitcoin or crypto using a bank. I was like, why? And then he explained the warning from the central bank. And then I started researching. I found out that the owner of the only casino in Lebanon is the central bank of Lebanon. Okay, I was like, the central bank of Lebanon owns the only casino allowed in Lebanon, and why wouldn't be able to gamble with my money if I'm free of dealing with my money? I mean, if I would take that argument of gambling, even though I'm not like a high risk investor. So frankly speaking, I was like, it only makes sense to start buying through my Lebanese bank account's credit card through that bank account. And just FYI, just a full disclosure, I am also based in Europe. So what I did is I have my European bank account for my running expenses, and I had the Lebanese bank account still in Lebanon. So I was like, okay, let me empty that. It doesn't make sense to have both, and definitely Lebanon's currency is going to infinity. So I had the conviction that the Lebanese pound is not going really to the better. And this is how it all started. And it only happened as a good timing, really. It's not like I was speculating in any way. I just didn't feel comfortable, especially like when I convinced my mom first to transfer her bank account from Lebanese pounds to the USD, because I was telling her, like, dude, like, you didn't learn from the Civil War, because in the Civil War, the same happened, right? And then the currency devalued to 1,500. So when she did that, she told me, okay, but I still have like a bit of money at the bank with in Lebanese pounds, because I'm getting 14% as interest. This is, and this has pushed me forward to really, that was going to be a scam, and it turned out to be one.
It all sounds, I mean, you said that the Ponzi scheme that the central bank was running, and people are now comparing it to SBF and FTX, and the whole interest thing sounds a lot like Luna. It's really, I mean, It seems like the games people play are all the same everywhere. Huh?
all the same. The tools are just getting modernized. You know, when we were kids, we used to have fake sales reps coming to our door, like try to sell us like fake or bad stuff, or like to put advertisements for like really cool gadgets to call so they can get delivered, and then you buy them for like, I don't know, $20, and then you use them for a day, and then they stopped working. Like these sort of scams, just like the scams always been there, like falsifying money always been there, trying to imitate money always existed. Just like the tools are getting modernized over time, and now like you have chat gbt fake tokens in the market. Like it's like just like they're using the latest hype to scam people.
You said you had how long was your shitcoin phase? What was your favorite shitcoin?
My favorite shitcoin,
Everybody.
I didn't have a
No?
favorite shitcoin. I was just like shitcoining. I mean, I was dealing with the top 30.
Okay.
uh no, yeah, I was like a proper shitcoiner trader. Yeah, I was lucky not to have lost really money, but I wasn't lucky from a energy perspective and time perspective, whereby like really when you really enter like the space, I'm talking about really shitcoin trading, 18 hours a day, you forget yourself, you forget your
Oh
family,
man,
your loved ones.
that's not good for you. Even if you make money, that's
Exactly,
pointless.
exactly. That was the wake up call. Like, what am I doing? And I call myself lucky because I know it was like in many cases people just like got drugged and lost a lot of their savings.
Two more questions. First, let's stay with Lebanon. Let's stay with Bitcoin for a second. Did I understand you correctly that there is lots of remittances now? Even are people in the diaspora, are people using Bitcoin today to send money to Lebanon? Is that happening?
Not many, but they are using stable coins today, just because like of this booming industry of Bitcoin slash crypto. Because yeah, the stablecoin industry is also booming in Lebanon. They need liquidity, right? So the liquidity pools in Lebanon are dried. So the diaspora sends stable coins to people. People sell it to basically offices, crypto offices in Lebanon or in Beirut, and they exchange it for
So it's
dollars.
basically like Western Union, but for crypto. And you told me in the beginning that you had your work brings you all around the Middle East and Africa, and you've seen similar things in the inflation in Angola.
Yes,
Can you tell me about it?
of course. So my first trip to Angola, it was in 2014. There you have the Angolan kwanza as a currency. I remember that $1 was equivalent to 100 kwanzas in 2014. It reached, so the Angola, for whoever doesn't know, it's in Southwest Africa. It's an oil-based country, very rich in minerals, diamonds, gold. Beautiful country, beautiful people. Um, Fast forward, $1 was reached 700 kwanzas. Okay, today I think it's 520 kwanzas. What was interesting, and this is all before I witnessed what's happening in Lebanon, what happened in Lebanon post 2019. The same capital control from the bank started. So if you were an individual or an institution in the country, you were no longer able to transfer hard currency or like whatever is called hard currency outside the country. Price controls by the government to make sure that yeah, prices are not manipulated much by the importers. And you see the same human reflex in behaving in economic instability. The population started running for investing in real estate, jewelry, etc., just to store the value of whatever they had left, right? And yeah, even but the thing is, one of my colleagues in 2019 was like, I've heard like people are using this thing Bitcoin to move money outside Angola. Do you know anything? I was like, no, no clue. Yeah, but anyway, good thing is at least we're learning. So, but yeah, it's very similar dynamics, very similar thing. The only thing is that, in my opinion, Angola did a great job uh, working on its economy, trying to work on corruption, trying to really diversify the industry, etc. And but again, they have 90% or 95% of their electricity is hydro. They have very rich grounds, very rich resources to use. And whereas in Lebanon, we still don't have any power plant without like really renting diesel from outside to put it on. Imagine like sorry, just this very funny fact about Lebanon. For a decade, the Lebanese government was renting Turkish power plants on vessels. So we had a floating power plant by the coast to generate electricity for the country, and that was all rented instead of really investing in infrastructure, etc. So yeah, different countries, very similar inflationary environments. The population's behavior is always the same, regardless of the geographic locations. The IMF, in order to start helping any country, start to push the countries to work on the different rules. Whereas when it comes to local manufacturing and working on corruption, etc., few make it. Really, few make it, and God knows if Lebanon will make it. But before we see really any productive economic sectors starting soon, we're not gonna see anything except like the lira going to the moon, like Saifuddin said the other day.
Seyfuddin is from Lebanon, right?
He's Jordanian. He spent a lot of time in Lebanon. He taught in Lebanon, and now he moved back to
Oh,
Lebanon.
he's now in Lebanon.
He is in Lebanon, yes.
So he just wants to be there to see it all burn down. I guess I don't know.
I mean, uh, if I don't know, Lebanon is still. I mean, if you know the country, you know people. Um, Financially, you're doing okay. You're being productive. It's highly recommended to at least visit.
Okay, I mean it must be beautiful in the end. You know, we talk about Lebanon in these inflationary corruption terms and explosion, but of course, I mean, uh, I've never been. I've seen many movies that are placed in Beirut, right? So you hear a lot great things. I mean, there are a couple of Lebanese restaurants here in Vienna, and the food's great, man. The food's great. So what do you expect? Maybe as a last question, what do you expect to happen for the next couple of months in Lebanon? And what are your plans regarding Bitcoin? What are you up to?
Um, for the coming months, so I guess summer will be coming. With summer, people we're Mediterranean people. We're very warm people, and we get angry super fast. We're like flammable almost, which means summer is gonna come with a lot of. I think people are not gonna stay home because it won't be raining. One thing is, I really hope people don't adapt to the crisis, because you see people adapting really like. Adapting to the ugly reality doesn't change it. I really hope things change for the better, but from a currency point of view, it's gonna keep devaluing. There's nothing to hold it back seriously. So this is how I see it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm totally wrong, but these are just facts. And when it comes to Bitcoin, we're gonna keep doing what we do. And for me, it's like keep spreading the word. And yeah, I'm exploring mining outside Lebanon. So that's for me, as well as contributing with my fellow Lebanese Arab Bitcoiners to educate people, more people. And this is how we do it. I mean, we can't rely on a marketing department to do it.
No,
So
there's no marketing department. What are you doing? Is there like podcasts or YouTube channels and Telegram groups? Or how exactly does it work?
I don't have time to start mine, so I just contribute to others, and this is how we do. My friend Marco has the biggest educational group in Lebanon. It's called Bitcoin du Liban. You can check the website. It's bitcoinduliban.org. On the bitcoinduliban.org, you have a section for communities. You click on the communities, and there's a Telegram channel you can join, and you'll be more than welcome to add value and meet everyone and see the different nice discussions happening.
If we understand it, right? You're not doing this in
No,
English.
it's all
Oh,
in
it's all
English.
in English.
We speak English. We have English speaking people, French speaking people, and Arabic, of course.
That's great, man. Is there anything people from Europe or the US could do to help?
Let's work on a Cash App version or a Strike version, which is an on-off ramp to the Lebanese pounds. I mean, we spoke about this with different people. It comes with a lot of intricacies from a compliance perspective. Yes, we know. But whatever is happening today, I mean, I know if there's anyone interested in working on a Bitcoin app that is suitable. I know that Galloy Money has an amazing open source one. But again, a pool of money is always needed, right, to transact and do the transaction. So there isn't really an ongoing project for Lebanon, but I know that there are many that are trying to contribute as much as possible. Something that would definitely is interested to check. It's an Arabic Bitcoiner called Arabic Huddle with the Twitter handle Arabic Huddle. He has an amazing website. It's called bitcoinarabic.org. He's from Egypt, and Egypt today is going through a huge economic crisis that is just starting.
So the guy who's doing the Bitcoin du Liban is Marco, right? That's what you said. So I'm actually realized that he's already following me on Twitter, so that's
Correct.
cool. And
Correct.
I don't know, but do you know Rahim Tarisadegan? Rahim Tarisadegan? He's an economist from Austria, but he has roots in Iran, and I think his wife might be from Lebanon.
No,
but he spent like the last I did a podcast with him here in Vienna today. He knows all about Bitcoin. He's brilliant. He's like a lexicon, right? And I told him that I'm talking to a Lebanese Bitcoiner tonight, right? And he said like something. It's Marco, right?
Yeah, Marco started it, really a great guy.
I will. Well, last question, and then I'll let you go. You told me that you are in Europe, based in Europe as well. Do you see, besides the inflation rates, do you see any other warning signs that we are already going down the Lebanese way, basically, here in Europe?
If you don't check the value of your euro today compared to how it was 2 years ago, I mean, it's already an alert. If you go to any snack or restaurant, or like a mini market or supermarket, go ask the owners just by a percentage. They would appreciate the questions, but I've been doing it as an exercise. Just the corner shop of any street, just ask them how much did the goods increase in percent this year compared to last year, etc., and how has it impacted their income. And you would have a feel that things are happening all the same way. So yeah, I mean, today you still have the same stupid answers from the banks and calling you. And I got, oh, by the way, I was traveling for work, and I wanted to make sure that my credit card was working, because I had supposed to have a new one that I hadn't used. So I called the operator, just by mistake terminated my card on the phone, even though it was the card I was asking not to, not at least to be able to use it during my trip. And like all these useless banking sector questions, answers, inefficiencies, and they keep like charging you for more money for it. So really, it's all the same. It's all just a matter of time. And but to be fair, it's not like everyone want to be self-sovereign, Nico. People want to rely on others to take care of their wealth, especially the big money, unfortunately. But if you don't want to own Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin, just learn about Bitcoin. And I hope others learn from the people who were able to.
My main channel is, of
survive
course, in
using it.
German, and I know about a couple of people who would listen to the podcast just because they know me, because I was in the media even before the whole Bitcoin thing, and they would, I mean, after listening to 50 episodes, you're gonna buy some Bitcoin. All right, Suli, this was great, even though it's a sad story, but it was great talking to you. Thank you for taking the time. We should do this again, and I hope next time you have some better news, that, you know, the guy in the central bank who is now in his 30th year, he turned it around, and it all went well for Lebanon. I wish you all the best. Yeah, talk to you soon.
Thanks, Nico. Thanks for having me.